Hello, we're back with this piece of fabric collage that we started with, and since the first video I have added a lot of threads and fibers and one or two more little pieces, and I'm thinking that this is where I'm going to stop and start stitching. And I'm just going to do a running stitch on this piece to start with, because I have an idea of what I want to put in this area right here when I get through. And what I want to demonstrate in this little series on this piece right here is how we accidentally end up with a piece of fiber art when we're just playing with our scraps. And so that, to show you that there's a fiber artist, textile artist, fabric artist, however you want to term it, in each of us, if we just play with the elements that we have. We're working with fabric, yarns, textiles of all kinds. That's our medium. We're not working in paints and acrylics or watercolors. We're working in these mediums. And when we start putting things together in a way that only we can, we end up with very unique pieces. And really, isn't that artwork? When you interpret using a medium, when you interpret something you feel or see, you create art. And so this is how we use our scraps to accidentally become artists and create pieces that we can frame and hang with pride and love. So, as I said, I'm at this point here, and now I'm just going to start straight stitching this background. Very simple, very beginner friendly, because the stitching is not the focal part here. I'm not focusing on showcasing all my perfect slow stitch or embroidery stitches. What I'm doing is getting some texture by stitching to add interest to the background, and the background will become then exactly that, a background to a focal piece that I will add later, and we'll end up with a piece of artwork that definitely can be framed and hung. I'm loving the colors of this. It's so funny that these colors are still in the fall theme, like the first spread in the challenge book that I'm doing next year. But I happen to have a lot of these on my desk right now, and so I tend to just work with what's around me. I don't stop every day and go pull out a whole new palette of things to work with. I'll do that 2-3 times a week, maybe. Sometimes just once a week. I pull out enough that it lasts me all week. And when I pull out enough, I've got a couple of tubs on both sides of me of fabrics and different embellishments. And, of course, some that I keep on my desk all the time. So, and I'll work out of that. I love to do that when it comes to my scraps, because my scraps, like I said, I have tubs and tubs of them. And they're not necessarily organized into anything. So when I pull out a tub of scraps, it's just that. And it's got everything and anything in it. But it forces me to use it. It forces me to use my imagination. It forces me to be innovative, intuitive when I'm working, and just use it. Now, on this one, I'm choosing to use a thread that blends rather than contrasts, because again, like I said, the stitching for this piece, in my mind, the stitching is just a texture point. In this piece, it's not a focal point, and so I'm not showcasing it. So to do that, I'm going to let it blend a little bit better. And I'm not saying that at some point I might not do a little contrasted thread. But right now I'm gonna, I think, stay in this nice warm rusty brown that I'm using because it blends really well. You can decide that before or as you're stitching, however it goes for you. Just make a decision and go in with it. If you don't like your decision, you can always change it. Guess what? You are in control. There are no slow stitch police around. Nobody that can make you change thread if you don't want to. So just do what you want to do. Okay. We're just going to stitch. I'm just going to be stitching here for a while. It'd be a good thing if you could grab something of your own and you can work along with me. We'll just spend a little time here. Kind of like a stitch along, but not a silent one. I do have a series of silent stitch alongs running. Right now I'm doing Blooming Blue, which is a floral slow stitch that I'm designing and stitching. But I'm not talking in that video, I'm just stitching. For one thing, I'm a very ordinary kind of dull person. I don't have a lot of interesting things to tell you. I just live a simple life and love what I do. And so sometimes I think, people get tired of hearing you chatter about nothing. Just stitch and let them stitch and enjoy maybe some music in the background for themselves or whatever they want to do. Maybe they have a friend over and they're having a conversation and they're watching me stitch while they're stitching. So sometimes those silent videos are nice for that. You can, you know they're there, you can save them up for that occasion. One lady told me she likes those because in the evening she likes to put on her videos where the fireplace is burning and the jazz music is in the background, and she just enjoys that, but she wants to watch something at the same time. So she has her own sound effects going on, but she's can watch me and other people when they make the silent videos. So one lady asked me, well, what good is a silent video? So anyway, that's my answer to that. It's a lot of good if you like to just watch someone stitch, get some ideas or inspiration from what they're doing, but working on one of your own projects while having your own sound effects. I also have a series going where I am reading one of my own books, and the first story is completed. The first series of the Stitching with a Good Book is up. It's called Dare You Stay, or Dare She Stay, excuse me. And so I think you would probably enjoy that because, again, you grab your own project and you work along while I'm working along on mine, and we're just listening to an audio recording of me reading my own work, my own book. I do write fiction, and I write category romance. I write some mystery. I write a little sci-fi. So it's a little bit everything, but you might try it. You might like my writing style. I just love being able to incorporate all of what one lady called junk. Well, you know, there's junk journals, and then I guess there's junk slow stitch too, because all the threads and things that she would throw away, I keep. And I put them into my slow stitch pieces. Like all these threads through here. And you know, threads have their own texture too, depending on what kind of thread they are. You know, if they're spooled thread that you put in your sewing machine, that has one texture. If you're pulling them out of fabric that's you're recycling, well, that's another texture. Usually, you know, especially if it's things like scarves or sweaters or heavier things like that, you get a different texture thread. Just all kinds of things. Sometimes pay attention to that how many different textures of threads that you can end up with. This thread here, I can't remember what it's from, but it has a crinkle all the way. The thread itself is crinkled. And I think that's so cool. And I love that. I couldn't I couldn't crinkle it if I wanted to, but it came that way. When I can't remember what I pulled it out of. Sometimes when you're fringing things, you get the coolest crinkled thread. Maybe that's what I was doing. Maybe I was fringing something and that came off the edge. Just plain straight stitching here. This is beginner friendly stitching. Everybody can do a straight stitch. Now, I didn't say my straight stitches were straight. I don't make that claim. Remember, I am the queen of perfectly imperfect. And I like it that way. I don't want to be perfect. I want these things to look imperfect, but be perfect in their imperfection and the fact that they're pretty just the way they are. And if you were to straighten up all my stitches, it just wouldn't look the same. I can't sew straight on my sewing machine either. So I'm thinking, years ago I had to come to terms with the fact that I don't know if I don't have the patience, or I don't like it, or I'm not capable of it, but I just can't do the perfect stitching that some of these beautiful artisans can do. One year I went to the Houston Quilt Festival, and I just stood in the front of some of those quilts and with my, jaw dropped, my mouth open at how perfect some of that hand stitching was, some of that machine stitching was. It was just gorgeous, beautiful. And I thought, I love it, but I don't want to do it. So anyway, I thought, okay, I'm satisfied with how I do it. I think that's why I love what I do so much. Maybe if you're not happy with what you do, maybe there's the point, that you don't love your own style. So find your style, find what about it is unique, and learn to love it. And you'll enjoy doing what you do so much better. Isn't it funny how you can take a raw piece that hasn't been stitched, and it looks good. You think, yes, I like this. I'm going to work with this. But as you begin to stitch, it begins to morph, begins to change. It begins to become something a little different. And it's all because of the stitching, and you love it. What is it about stitches that we ladies love so much? I don't know. And I guess there are some men stitchers out there too that love that same thing. But it's just, you look at this and that's okay, that's pretty. But as you start stitching it down, it becomes something different, doesn't it? And you think, oh, I just love the fact that those stitches are there. It just adds so much. If anybody can tell me why that is that way, why we love stitches so much, put it in the comment. I'm ready to learn something. I'm going to have to change thread here. I'm about to run out. Boy, I hate to turn my stuff over on camera because that's where you can really tell just how unstraight I stitch. You can see it. I don't have any secrets. So I might as well be honest and tell you I'm imperfect. Okay. I have another needle ready to go here. So let's just pick it up and keep going. Oh, that one didn't come up in the right place. Do you laugh at yourself? I laugh at myself all the time. I'm my best entertainment at times. The things that I can do. Good sense of humor, though, is I think one of the secrets of longevity. And I have made it to 77 years. Maybe my sense of humor will get me another 10 years, you reckon? I don't know, we'll see. I like to do, when I can, the up and down stitching that when I'm straight stitching, but on pieces like this that are really have different thicknesses, it's really hard to do that. And as you see, I'm not using a thimble, and most of the time I don't. Years ago I used to use a thimble, but anymore it just irritates the flu out of me, and so I just most of the time don't. And if you don't have a thimble on, it's hard to push a needle through several layers of fabric, so you have to slow down. Just slow down and go up and down until you get to a place where you can do that. Slow stitching is about slowing down. Just stitch and up and down, in and out, while you're thinking about all kinds of things. Of course, when I'm on video, I'm thinking about you out there who are with me, my stitching friends, and I like to talk to you because I don't have anybody to stitch with, so you're important to me, and I love the fact that you're there. But if I'm by myself, it's a good meditation time. Oh my. When I meditate, though, I have learned that real meditation needs a purpose. It's not just opening your mind and letting anything come in. Because believe me, there's a whole lot out there that isn't worth meditating about that can come in. So when I want to meditate about something, I pick a subject. I pick a purpose for that subject. Do I want to learn something? Do I want to reminisce? Do I want to analyze? Do I want to look for deeper understanding? What is it that I want to do? And so when I meditate, I have a specific thing to meditate on with a specific purpose. And that, boy, over the years, that has done so much good in my life. Do you know I've found so many answers to questions I didn't think had answers? I found so many alternate ways to do things that I didn't think had another way. Simply because when I meditate with a purpose on a specific thing. So if you haven't tried that kind of meditation, try it. I think you'll like it. I know there's a lot of people out there that think you just need to empty your mind and let the inner soul come through, or whatever that is about. But let me tell you, my inner soul just isn't very self-motivated. It just is kind of lazy, and it'll just sit there and lay there, and it won't do nothing. It won't go anywhere. And when it does, it just really doesn't accomplish anything. So, now, that's my kind of meditation. You may have a whole different idea. But whatever it is, you can certainly do it when you're stitching alone. Okay, I'm going to decide what I'm going to do with these little fringy things here. I think I'm going to direct them into a specific direction. And I got to do it now, or I'm going to miss the opportunity on this one. So let's get him down. Ah, stabbed him. Got him. What? One lady called this kind of stitching stab and jerk. I guess you could call it that. Just stab it, then jerk that thread back through. Okay, what do you think? Well, aren't we getting a nice texture up there? And isn't that a beautiful thread color? I don't know what number it is, but this is what it is. And isn't that pretty? I just love that. And it just is giving such a nice feel to this. Just love it. Okay, I'm going to stop this video here. And the next one, I will be working on some of the stitching. And the next one, we will see what kind of element I'm going to put on this. And how we're going to take these scraps and turn it into an accidental piece of art. Gosh, I am so excited about that. You know, it's like finding treasure. When you can throw a bunch of scraps together and end up with a piece of art you can frame and hang. Is that not finding treasure? Yeah, it sure is. So until next time, you stay scrap happy. Bye-bye.